Let's get right in the front.
Hello, I'm Scott. I'm with the Berkeley Geochronology Center. Some of my Spanish colleagues have been very interested in liquefaction structures, and so I've been bringing them here to the Tacoma Basin. And as we'll see, the more you see of these, the more of them you'll see. We're in Lava Creek ash here, which is about 100,000 years old. You can see a lot of planar structure here, and a lot of those surfaces have oscillation ripples, meaning for fairly shallow water. But in between, behind me, you can see things go crazy. And this quarry from time to time is refreshed and being used. I'll ask Susan a little bit in a few minutes to tell us a little about the history of this quarry. But what we've been seeing these are some of the smallest liquefaction structures here in the basin, but they're very interesting. There's something that I see a fair amount on a larger scale. You'll begin to see as we move into the central bases. You'll see things that sort of have peaks. This is where there's actually movement and flowing of material, and this is sort of what's left in between, sort of looking at the circulation system that's starting. We published a paper a few years ago that I think part of it's in the guidebook, and it looks at a series of these examples with very nice photographs showing that liquefaction occurs only when the sediments are capable of being liquefied. Then you have a layer in between that's not liquefied. You can get some very complex. Those in the drill hole, you can get quite cool about whether you have multiple layers of liquefaction, multiple events. But you can see these are all one event that's occurring. Now, as far as the paleo environment in here, there's been talk of this being a fluvial area. To me, it's more like a marginal pond where there's been all the ash has been blown all over the landscape, and some of the overland flow processes are moving it in and concentrating it. This is much thicker than what you'll find it in other areas. But you can see all this reworking, bedding going on. I want to encourage everybody to look at these outcrops, all the strange swirls, and almost every one of the exposures here, you'll find something like this going on.
Do you have any idea what liquefaction and two parts?
Yes.
Did you ever sample this material and try to artificially induce liquefaction in it to get full water pressure measurements or something?
Right. No, we've done nothing in the way of experiments on any of these sediments. We feel that the diagenesis and other processes have changed the material too much. First question again.
What induced the liquefaction?
Oh, the reason for liquefaction. Well, the reasons for liquefaction can be many. The one that we prefer is earthquake shaking. You get into these basins and they have a resonant frequency, and sometimes earthquakes 50 or 100 kilometers away can resonate. You get dispersion, wave dispersion, and it can resonate in these basins. We have so many of these liquefaction structures, especially when you get into the central facies, which is being deposited in a very wet situation. And there, virtually every bed shows liquefaction of some sort of number.
Basin-wide.
Basin-wide, yes.
Yeah.
I came in right at the very end of what you were talking about, but were you saying that each of those horizons that have contorted bed is a liquefaction event?
No. Actually, what we're saying is there's probably a single liquefaction event.
But stratified.
And it can be stratified. And actually tomorrow there's an opportunity to walk and look at the basic stuff, which is a spectacular single liquefaction structure. And you can carry it horizontally as you move more into the upland environment, and you'll see it divide into two beds with completely normal sedimentation in between.
But both of them liquefied.
Both of them liquefied, and will laterally turn into one that you cannot tell apart.
Do
Gary, what is the grain size here? What's the grain size of material?
I think the grain size here is largely controlled by the ash.
Yeah, but what size is that?
Well,
How much passes through a number 206?
Yeah, I'm not sure those numbers, what those numbers are. Does somebody know?
Yeah, I did it. Yeah. And not only that, but if you do that with the volcanic ash, you get a errant result because of the fact that it's got a non-spherical size, and therefore hydraulic act as a larger piece, but it's called the liquid.
Yes.
So can't you get liquefaction under some rapid loading type situation with deltas and so forth? And that's what you do with fragmentation.
Right. Yeah, that's certainly one process. But what we don't see that anywhere. We don't see evidence for a lot of sedimentation and then liquefaction going on.
So then you have this whole stack here, and some of these beds are liquefied.
Yeah, it's always a possibility, but I think especially I'm relying more on my colleagues than my own opinion here.
Make yourself right.
Just wondered what the failures and loading.
Right, what you want to look for is are there sediments on top that show loading, and are they involved in this? And here what we see is a bunch of fine-grained, plainer beds in this quarry. And the liquefaction in this quarry, for instance, isn't the typical one we see in the beds here. Usually our liquefaction structures show that there's a surface at the time, materials coming up, pouring over, going back into a kind of a pillow and ball-like structure, and refilling off the surface. Here, these liquefaction structures have planar beds above, below, and in between them. So this is more like it's ready to be liquefied. It gets shook. Some zones are liquefied.
One of the things you might want to think about here is that just because we're seeing all these crazy features doesn't mean it happened like this. It may have been actually a fairly slow process. It may have been a little bit more, it was dewatering. A lot of times since these were rapidly deposited, they're dewatering, you shake them, and then they're going to be disturbed. So the more water you have in there that needs to come out, the more they can be disturbed. Well, one of the ways we can try to demonstrate that it's a liquefaction origin is by correlating them throughout a basin, and this has been successfully done in some areas where then you can say, okay, as opposed to run-of-the-mill sedimentary pile essentially overwhelming the load, that you've got to have some shaking to create a bed everywhere in that basin that's just liquefied. And that's one of the things I think we'll see some other examples of this.
Any other questions? Yes.
If you're getting rid of the water and compacting it, you have sand dikes or sand boils or anything to mark the exit of that water.
No, there's no sand boils here anyway, or dikes.
So that water is not escaping anywhere that you can see.
Yeah, unless it's to some surface which has now been cleaned off. Yeah.
Great.
I wanted to have Susan just ask. Susan, would you talk about the reason for this quarry and all?
First of all, I wanted to tell all of you about the structures that we saw on the way up here. The little caves that we saw were a place where my grandfather and my great-grandfather stored dynamite. And as a little girl, I was scared to death to come up here because I would get in trouble, and they told me how dangerous it was. But at that time, there were over 50 operating mines in the area. So my family would take groceries, dynamite, about a year up there because the workers were mining all over the base of the sea. And then as you come farther up, I think later we're going to go over and we're going to the track. And it's very, very careful. You can stay on both sides of the quarry. The tracks are pretty much down the middle, and a group this big could damage them. But to me, it's very interesting. As I said, this whole area from the 1860s of these geologic features would not be accessible to look at like you had because of the mining here. When we go over to the other quarry, that was a contract that my great-grandfather had with Dutch cleansers. If any of you know how many of you know what Dutch cleanser is? Well, for those of you that don't, it was a comparable to Comet. So he had this great contract. He actually sent his children to school and bought a house down in Santa Paula with the proceeds from the contract. And he mined, and correct me if I'm wrong, as I said, I am intimidated by all of you, but I think it was lava contract that he mined down to, and then he quit mining. Well, one of the many, many geologists that come to see at Shoshone, where I love to hang out with geologists, so interesting, and I can learn so many great things about the area. So we let them, they love to camp out here, so he can win. There were 4 or 5 geologists up here camping, and one of them sort of turned over from the mineral and looked down and found prehistoric horse tracks. Now, of course, we know that they're older than 640,000 years. I thought it was 620, but it's gotten older. It's gotten older, yeah. Yeah. So he came down and told me about them. I came up and looked at them and asked Bob Reynolds, who is a member of our museum, and he's a great scientist, and he came up and looked at them and decided to pass them. And I wanted to come up after lunch. I had today, and I said, I want to go see those tracks. He said, well, come on up after lunch. So he went on up here. I came up about 15 minutes later. So I came barreling up in my little red Jeep and jumped out, and I said, Bob, where are the tracks? He said, well, you're parked right on top of them. I was like, oh my God. So I jumped in the Jeep and rapidly reversed. But that was my learning experience on how fast I could park. And see those. And that's the result of that mining endeavor. This pit here was something that when we first took over, when my mother passed away, I was actually and came back to visit my mother, and she tragically passed away. And then I was like, what to do, sell the town? I just could not leave this beautiful landscape. So I decided to try to run it, and I married my husband about 3 years later. And it just seemed every 1 year we had a flood that cut us off for 10 years. 1 year, the next year we had a fire. We had all of these really bad economic circumstances. I was ill. One day the mayor came into the office and said, I want to restore your, I think we called it volcanic ash streams. I was like, oh yeah, great, I'm sure. So I called up a friend of mine that was a lawyer. And I said, this fellow wants to have him talk to me. So I gave him his number. Come to find out, it was a representative from Illinois Coal Works. And they gave us an awesome lease. We only had to mine 500 ton a year. We got a huge price for it. I don't think anyone's ever thought that you could get that kind of price for ash. And we mined in this area. So and it got us, and financially it made us solvent and solid and sustainable. So it was a wonderful thing, and we were so grateful. We had to put water up here, we were so grateful that we could have these leases without having to sign off. And then the lease expired. And I really, we were just right on the brink of doing reclamation up here, which the BLM wanted us to knock down. And I was, well, about that time, getting back to visit with two fellows from Spain that was and I said, I didn't know I didn't know myself there. So we came up here. I actually wrote an article there for the local paper with very well received, and I got an education from the So they sent me a thesis or a publication on these guidelines, and I was able to convince the BLM that doing restoration work would be attractive. So the restoration has been done, the site maps remain, and I'm in the process of trying